Good morning, guys, and welcome back. We'll be doing three questions today. I believe I had shared some videos with you, right? In the past, one was about sustainability reporting, and the other one was about IFRS for SMEs. Both standards that, or both topics that will be discussed in today's questions. Sustainability will be discussed more than once, and of course, this will be the IFRS for SME part is there in one question. Now, it is surprisingly, it is these smaller topics that take a lot of uh, precedence in SBR as compared to what you would imagine as the main topics. Like, oftentimes, I have seen this happen that people prepare and prepare for financial instruments, and it is asked for some 3 marks. And a topic like sustainability reporting gets tested for 8 marks or something like IFRS for SMEs, which none of us would reckon important enough to warrant our attention, that also ends up taking a good 6 to 8 marks in certain attempts. So the thing about SBR is that it's the lesser important topics which everyone seems to ignore so much, they somehow find a place in the final answer. Okay, so that's of course something that you have to mentally prepare yourself कि यार ये जो छोटे topics है, ये जो less important topics है, those should not be taken lightly under any circumstance. ठीक है, let's start with the first question. I had told you three questions: hand food, Leria, and Ecoma. ठीक है. Handfood company was is a December 2020 question. Leria is a March 2020 question. Ecoma is also a March 2020 question. All three questions have some exposure to the question topic of sustainability and so on. ठीक है, ये देखो. What is the expectation? Discuss the nature of the SME standards and the principal differences between the SME standards and full IFRS accounting standards. 4 marks. Discuss the effect that information asymmetry can have on the decision to invest in SME. ठीक है, professional marks will be awarded for clarity and quality. Outline the information requested by the directors regarding sustainability reporting. 4 plus 4, 8 plus 2 and then 5. Total of 15 marks allocated for SME and sustainability together. And then 6 marks, discuss with suitable calculations the principles of how hand food company should account for current service cost of its employee benefit. So IAS 19, discuss the impact on the additional employee benefit for the year ended 31st of December if the company were to take following into account. Basically, 10 marks are there for employee benefits, 10 marks for SME and 5 marks for sustainability reporting. ठीक है. अब Handfood Company is a small and medium enterprise which has introduced a benefit to encourage employees to remain with the entity. The company's financial year end is 31st of December and it prepares its financial statements using IFRS accounting standards, but is interested in the differences with the SME standard. Handfood Company is also environmentally conscious and the directors require further information regarding the IFRS sustainability disclosure standards. SMEs. It can be argued that small and medium enterprises face financing difficulties because there is serious information asymmetry between SMEs and investors. Information asymmetry in the context of SME means that SME has access to relevant information while the investor suffers from a lack of relevant information. It can be argued that SME standards decrease information asymmetry between investors and entity. तो जो फर्स्ट 10 marks वाला पार्ट है ना, that specifically relates to the SME standards, and they have asked you discuss the nature of the SME standard and the principal differences between SME and IFRS. 4 mark के लिए. Now, what are you expected to write here? First of all, you will have to explain properly what exactly is the significance of introducing the SME standard. See, the idea behind introducing a standard for small and medium enterprises was here, these are entities, which have maybe they are family owned companies or, they don't have as much of a wide stakeholder base or a wide shareholder base like a large company has. For example, uh, a small edtech company in which there is no public investment, it will not have public trust, public money involved, उसका reporting requirement भी काफी कम रहेगा as compared to say someone like a Reliance India Limited, of course Reliance Industries, which has such a wide base of shareholders across. So those shareholders need full detailed information, so that in such situation na, it makes sense to deep dive and give all the relevant information that is required. But the point is कि अगर छोटा कंपनी है तो you probably don't need a full-fledged disclosure of leases, a full-fledged calculation of basic EPS and diluted EPS, or you don't need complex accounting treatments that are prescribed under IFRS 9. So the principal aim of this SME standard is to give a framework for accounting, reporting, presentation, disclosure for small and medium enterprises. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to incorporate. So what this standard does is it takes its base from the regular accounting standards only, but it eases out quite a few calculations. If you remember the video, I'm sure you have watched it. वहाँ पे, say if you remember IAS 23, IAS 23 में लिखा है कि if it is a full-fledged accounting thing that you are doing, then you have to consider capitalization of borrowing cost. But if it is a small and medium enterprise, don't capitalize. मतलब आपका life easy कर दिया है. Because whenever we are accounting also, the idea of cost benefit analysis cannot escape us, right? So the cost of complying with all the requirements of the accounting standards versus the benefit of getting something out of those out of those detailed presentation, disclosure and reporting, the cost should not be more than the benefit na. मतलब for example I tell you कि यार learn XYZ topic by heart and spend 4 days doing it. But in the exam, it's barely going to be tested for 3 marks. So it makes no sense, right? That becomes a problematic thing for you because effort and output don't really match. The same thing goes with IFRS. With this set of standards also, कि whenever we are talking about small and medium enterprises, इतना सब करने का जरूरत होता नहीं है. For effect, you can give a small disclosure regarding what is the difference between the SME standard and the regular accounting standard. वो एक छोटा सा आपको बात करना है. टेक two examples. IAS 23 का ले लो, IAS 38 का ले लो. Like IAS 38 में instead of testing for impair, मतलब there are relaxations there as well, right? So just write those two examples and say this is the difference between a full-fledged financial reporting as per IFRS versus these are the relaxations given under the SME standard. ये बात हो गया. This is your first part of the answer. Then they have asked you something about information asymmetry. ठीक है. अब what exactly is information asymmetry? Discuss the effect that information asymmetry can have on the decision to invest in SME. Yashika, can you read this? Information से लेके end तक.
Yes, sir. It can be argued that a small and medium enterprise face financial difficulties because there is a serious information asymmetry between SMEs and investors. Information asymmetry in context of SMEs means that SME have access to relevant information while the investors suffer from lack of relevant information. It can be argued that SMEs standard decrease information asymmetry between the entity and the investors.
Now, when in the question itself they have mentioned what is information asymmetry, when you are framing the answer, now don't waste time on explaining what is information asymmetry. उन्होंने लिख के दिया है ना. Have they asked you what is information asymmetry? No. They have said very clearly the effect that information asymmetry can have on the decision to invest in SMEs. Now understand one thing. What is information asymmetry according to them? It means that small and medium enterprises, they don't want to make full disclosures because the cost of making those disclosures far outweighs the benefit. So maybe they don't do lease accounting the way a regular entity does. They don't disclose EPS the way a regular entity does. In fact, EPS wala standard is not even applicable, right? Then in terms of financial instruments, expected credit loss and all of these things, they don't do. Now, Just because they don't do a detailed expected credit loss modeling doesn't mean that there is no expected credit loss, right? What it means is कि in case of these entities, the requirement to do that is there, but the effort and the cost to do that is far more than the benefit derived from it. But the users of financial statements, although company is not doing 12-month expected credit loss, lifetime expected credit loss, there still is credit loss ना. वो ऐसा नहीं है कि because it is a small and medium enterprise there is no expected credit loss. वो तो होने वाला है, customers आपका पैसा डुबाने वाले हैं, that is going to happen. So users of financial statements are well within their rights to know कि यार ये कंपनी में we are investing our money, इसके assets are sorry debtors are 20 crore. Are these debtors going to pay, or is there going to be an expected credit loss in that? Yeah, they want to know. But because of the way things are structured, because the SME is not doing that kind of reporting, then there are certain facts which ideally should be disclosed to the investors, but SMEs are not able to disclose that. So this lack of relevant information will have an adverse effect on the decision making. Now, I am looking at a set of financial statements. When I look at Reliance, when I look at HDFC Bank, I have all the disclosures, all the accounting, everything presentation done properly, and a big four auditor checking that. In case of a smaller entity, I don't have that. See, but मुझे invest तो करना है ना. I want to invest in all types of companies. I don't have that information. So there is a possibility that the investors either might not invest in such companies, तो कंपनी को फाइनेंस नहीं मिलेगा, या फिर the investors, even if they invest, will not be in a, or they will not be in that informed position. Their position will be that of disadvantage. So ऐसे केसेस में बहुत बार क्या होता है कि यार where the bank doesn't have full information and full disclosure, the bank raises the interest rate. Why? Because you seem like a riskier company to them. बहुत बार होता है कि if say assume करो, इफ यू गिव अ सिक्योरिटी लाइक आई वांट टू टेक अ लोन ऑफ 1 करोड़ और मैंने मेरा 2 करोड़ का घर आई हैव मैंने गिरवी रख दिया, राइट? आई हैव क्रिएटेड अ सिक्योरिटी विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू माई हाउस ऑफ 2 करोड़. बैंक डजेंट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम, बैंक विल से चल 7% पे ले ले. बट आई वॉन्ट अ लोन ऑफ 1 करोड़ बट आई एम नॉट in a position to give them any security. The bank will say we'll give you a loan but the rate of interest will be more. Similarly, in this case bank doesn't have full information about the company because they are not doing full length disclosures as other companies are doing. So the bank says कि तुमको loan देंगे but we'll give you the same loan but at a higher rate of interest. Or the banks may say no कि नहीं यार, we don't we have no guarantee about what you are doing, so we don't want to take a risk and invest. So जितना ट्रांसपेरेंसी कम उतना द रिस्क विल बी हायर बिकॉज यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू अट्रैक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट, राइट? द एक्सेस टू इन्वेस्टमेंट वुड बी डिटरमाइंड बाय द क्वालिटी ऑफ financial statements and information asymmetry, the one that we discussed, that creates a problem. Right, information asymmetry के वजह से what the company discloses and what the investors want, that is not aligned with each other, that is not in line with each other. So that affects the decision of the users of financial statements to invest in such a company. ठीक है? And that is exactly what the second part of the question is trying to ask you. ठीक है? Effect that information asymmetry can have on the decision to invest in SMEs. Are you with me? All of you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. अब how to approach this? Before we proceed, First of all, for part one, why were SME standards introduced? Structure of the SME standard, talk about cost benefit analysis, talk about the utility of SME standards, इसमें से दो example दे दो, and then talk about, of course, the principal differences between SME standards and full IFRS standards. यहाँ पे मैंने part A2, ठीक है? What is part A2? Part A2 is effect that information asymmetry can have on the decision to invest in SMEs. तो मैंने यहाँ पे देखो, I wrote this line, explain what is meaning of information asymmetry, and then I scratched it out because I want you to know the information that is already given in the question is not required to be repeated. We are not writing a BCom exam. वो छोड़ो. And then talk about, since limited information is disclosed, investors do not have complete picture that is necessary for decision making. Hence, they might be cautious while investing in SMEs. Lenders might want to charge a higher rate. This is the basic structure or the basic expectation in the answer. You have to now develop it for 4 marks. ठीक है. अब पढ़ो this part. देख लिया.
Sir, can I hear me?
हाँ, I beg your pardon.
Sir, fourth line, the standard itself is self-contained means, sir.
So the IFRS standard, it doesn't, once you have adopted the SME IFRS standard, everything that you need to account for the SMEs is given there. Beyond that standard, now you don't need to go back to the regular accounting standards. ठीक है. Now these type of questions ना इसमें, in some cases like in this question for example, पीछे का answer is enough. In some cases the पीछे का answer is so voluminous and so wordy कि फिर ना वो पढ़ने का मन नहीं करता है, and honestly that level of information is not even expected in the paper. This is okay. ठीक है. चलो. Now, outline the information requested by the directors regarding sustainability reporting. Handfood Company is aware of the increasing importance of sustainability reporting for SMEs and has several key investors who are keen to learn more about how Handfood Company manages sustainability related risk and opportunity. The directors of Handfood Company would like more information on the IFRS sustainability standards to help them decide whether Handfood Company should be applying these standards. Specifically, the directors want to understand the objective and scope of the standard. छोटा सा पैराग्राफ है. Technically na, they haven't really asked you about what is contained in the sustainability reporting standard. They have asked you कि we need to know the objective of the sustainability standards and the scope of the sustainability standards. ठीक है. They want to know whether it is applicable for our entity or not. Now, the whole idea of introducing, an accounting standard on sustainability, not accounting standard, I should say sustainability reporting standards. The whole idea of introducing that is, see, it helps to provide a it helps to provide some additional information to the users of financial statements regarding the sustainability risks and opportunities that an organization faces. Now, think about it. There is an entity which is entity का business है, it is manufacturing electricity using thermal power. तो अगर entity is manufacturing using electricity using thermal power, तो what is happening there is coal is being burnt. Now if coal is being burnt for electricity generation, naturally gases like carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are released into the atmosphere. When these gases are released into the atmosphere, naturally, वो ozone layer and uh, people like us who live in Delhi NCR, we know how terrible things are right now. You can't breathe. You are in a living gas chamber, right? So we know how difficult it gets because of that. So what will happen is eventually companies which are not following sustainable business practices, something as simple as reducing the level of pollution. If you are not doing that, ultimately your business will lose the patronage that it enjoys. मतलब पहले if people were preferring products made by your organization, now because of the damage that you are causing to the environment, they will prefer not using the products made by your organization. So, and they will switch to other entities which are following sustainable business practices. To give you an example, a company like NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, right? They are basically, that's a company, a government company that generates electricity using thermal power. Coal jala ke they create electricity. But NTPC, after realizing that, this is not going to sustain for a very long period of time, ek to coal reserves in the world are getting depleted, plus it is causing global warming, environmental damage. They have created a different company called NTPC Green. If you ever check on the stock exchange, there's a separate company called NTPC Green. Adani Power hai, Adani Greens bhi hai. Right. So what are all of these companies doing? They have now realized here we are creating a lot of damage to the environment, and the stakeholders, they are well within their rights to know ki what is the damage that you are causing to the environment. Point one, how are you affected by the damage getting caused by the environment? Right. And do you have a future? Now sometimes these issues might create a challenge so deep कि आपको business बंद करना पड़ सकता है, because going concern crisis हो सकता है, business continuity issues can happen, and it is required that you as management make appropriate disclosures to the entity, to the sorry stakeholders. Now another point is, if there are sustainability related opportunities, imagine karo Plutus Education, it has its office in Noida, but it decides ki yaar, we don't want to use thermal power, we want to become a sustainable company. So what they do is they install solar panels on the top of the building. Of course, there is ample amount of sunlight, it uses that sunlight and that generates electricity. Entire building is powered by that. Now naturally, when you are making such an investment, those solar panels don't come for free ना, उसके लिए पैसा देना पड़ेगा, right? So maybe you are spending 5 crores. Now the users of financial statements should know कि यार ये जो 5 करोड़ का spending हुआ, because of which there is 1 CR का depreciation in the P&L account, and asset में 5 crores ऐड हुआ है, depreciation में 1 crore ऐड हुआ है, profit has gone down by 1 crore. It is for long term sustainability. This is right now a capital investment which will in turn generate a lot of savings in the future. So users of financial statements need to be aware of all of this information. ठीक है? So this is a disclosure that you need to provide as per the sustainability reporting standards. ठीक है? There are two standards, IFRS S1, which is general requirements for disclosure of sustainability related information, and IFRS S2, which is about climate related disclosures. जो climate related disclosures है, there are, what is the aim? The aim is to provide information कि यार climate related risks क्या हो सकते हैं and what are the opportunities available to you there. So you need to make disclosure of two types of risk: physical risk, tangible negative impacts of climate change on an entity. Imagine you are an agro processing company, ठीक है, you are processing agricultural products. अब you know this year it so happened because of climate change that summer came at a different time, rains came at the wrong time, because of which the mango crop was not as amazing as it always is. So because of that, what happened? Because of that, your production went down, quality of production went down. तो आपका NRV कम हो गया, आपका inventory का value अलग हो गया, and all of these changes took place. Now these are direct physical tangible impacts of climate change, or because of say the pollution in Delhi NCR, the machinery that you install in warehouse in factories and all of that, those got corroded and they rusted very easily, so वो impair हो गया, right? So these are direct impact of climate change related risk, which we call the physical risk. And then there are climate related transition risk, which is risks that arise from efforts to transition to a lower carbon economy. तो ये दोनों का आपको डिस्क्लोजर देना है. सो व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट कि objectives and scope of the standard, mention why is it necessary first of all to have a standard specifically with respect to sustainability. What does it help you to achieve? And then talk briefly about IFRS S1 and IFRS S2. See, question देखो, हाँ. Again, see the requirement of the question. You should not get carried away. क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे? Outline the information requested by directors regarding sustainability reporting, है ना? So just give information relating to sustainability and write down the scope of the standard. See, when they are asking scope, आपको लिखना पड़ेगा कि S1 में क्या है, S2 में क्या है. Here it is critical that you mention the standard number, although ACCA doesn't focus so much on the standard number, but यहाँ पे दो ही standard है. Correct. S1 and S2. S1 has a very different list of things it needs to be done. S2 has a different list of things that it needs to be done. And you will have to give कि यार S1 में क्या है, S2 में क्या है. ठीक है. And when you provide that information, it will help the investors make informed decisions. Are you with me, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, not a question. See, there is nothing technical that they have asked you. Ki, greenhouse gases 1, 2, 3, kya hai disclosures. They haven't asked you that. They have just asked you information required regarding sustainability reporting. What is the objective and scope? Directors को वो चाहिए. ठीक है. So again, have a look at this.
Scroll.
Sure. इतना महीने एफर्ट डाला, फिर भी 15 मार्क्स के लिए IFRS on SME and sustainability. क्या फायदा फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स पढ़ने का, राइट यशिका? ये टाइम पास पूछते हैं पेपर में.
Yes, sir.
सर पर आप वैसे देखोगे तो ये स्टैंडर्ड में कुछ इतना है नहीं, मतलब
Exactly.
दिमाग लगाने
Exactly. But this is the biggest mistake that people make, that this is low hanging fruit. Huh? All of this is low hanging fruit. Climate change ho gaya, jo bhi ho gaya. People don't study this and they will spend one full week on financial instruments. I'm not saying don't study financial instruments, but this is यार ये जो छोटे छोटे टॉपिक्स है ना, ये हो गया फिर और क्या आपका IFRS 8 हो गया, विच इज ऑन ऑपरेटिंग सेगमेंट्स. देन we'll do one small topic called going concern also very soon. It's what going concern is, but uspe they have increased the focus in the recent exams, and all of these things are getting tested instead of, because see, the name of your subject is also not financial reporting. The name of your subject is strategic business reporting. So now they have changed the approach of asking questions in line with the name of the subject. Not too much, you will hardly find any calculation intensive parts in SBR. Maybe some small adjustments that we do in that pre-populated balance sheet. वहां पे होता है थोड़ा calculation. Apart from that, there isn't much. अच्छा, very important. Tomorrow's session uh, is कंसोलिडेशन. हाँ, मैंने आपको 2 हफ्ते का टाइम दिया था सबको टू प्रिपेयर कंसोलिडेशन, राइट? आई होप यू
Yes, sir.
ट्रैक विद दैट, बिकॉज टुमारो एंड डे आफ्टर आई विल बी, टाइमिंग फॉर टुमारो एंड डे आफ्टर इज 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. ठीक है? एंड वील बी डूइंग 3 questions ऑन कंसोलिडेशन टुमारो, 3 questions ऑन कंसोलिडेशन द डे आफ्टर. सो यू बेटर कम प्रिपेयर्ड. ठीक है, चलो एक लास्ट पार्ट, ये चलो थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल पार्ट है. Discuss with suitable calculations the principles of how hand food company should account for current service cost of its employee benefit for the year ended 31st of December 2002. Discuss the impact. Okay, एक एक पार्ट करते हैं. Suitable calculations के साथ explain करो principles of how hand food company should account for the current service cost of its employee benefit. On 1st of Jan 2002, Handfood Company introduced a benefit to encourage employees to remain in the employment for at least 5 years. Handfood Company has promised its employees a lump sum benefit payable on 1st of Jan 2007, which is equal to 1% of their salary at 31st of December 2006, provided they remain employed until that date. The current salaries of employees on 1st of Jan 2002 are 1.1 million. The directors of Hand Food Company have made the following assumptions. Salaries for the year ended 31st December 2002 will remain at 1.1 million. Salaries should increase by 3% each year from 1st of Jan 2003. There is a 75% probability that all employees will still be employed by Hand Food Company at 31st of December 2006. The discount rate is 5% per year. आपको पूछा क्या है? They have asked you how will you account for the current service cost. Principles of how you would account for the current service cost in respect of employee benefit. Now see यहाँ पे when is the benefit going to be provided? And what is today's date? Today's date is 1st of Jan 2002. ठीक है, benefit will be payable on 1st of Jan 2007, which will be equal to 1% of their salary on 31st of December 2006, provided they remain employed at that date. It is not a pension benefit, by the way. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, ये पेंशन नहीं है, ये पोस्ट एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेनिफिट नहीं है, बट दिस इज अ लॉन्ग टर्म बेनिफिट दैट यू आर गिविंग टू द एम्प्लॉयज. ठीक है, नाउ it is quite similar, the calculation and everything is quite similar to a defined benefit pension scheme. ठीक है, so let's write that down. कौन सा पार्ट है ये? C1. ठीक है, let's start. First of all, the benefit that Hand Food Company has proposed to pay to its employees is not a pension benefit. The amount is payable on 1st of Jan 2007 and 31st of December 2006. 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 20 Today's date is 1st of Jan 2002. So this is a long-term benefit payable. ठीक है, शॉर्ट टर्म बेनिफिट नहीं है, लॉन्ग टर्म बेनिफिट है. Now, accounting treatment for long-term benefit is similar to a defined benefit pension scheme, but remeasurement component and all of that is, not really a part of these calculations. है ना? The accounting treatment is similar to a defined benefit scheme, but there are no complex calculations like remeasurement gain loss in OCI. ठीक है, अब what hand food company should do is it should recognize a liability for the obligation as a result of the additional employee benefit. And how should the company measure that? Amount is payable on 1st of Jan 2007. Today is 1st of Jan 2002. So don't you think you should measure the liability at the present value of its obligations at the reporting date? Correct. Now the estimated amount will have to be, you will have to first of all calculate what is the amount payable on so and so date. फिर आपको present value निकाल के, you will have to go ahead with all your calculations. So hand food company will have to calculate the present value of its present value of the benefit payable on 1st of Jan 2007 and record the same as its long-term liability on the date of inception of the scheme. ठीक है, तो let's first of all calculate that and then talk about the accounting treatment of each of these components. ठीक है, salaries for year ended 31st of December 2002 are 1.1 million. ठीक है, salaries will increase by 3% each year from 1st of Jan 2003. So 2003, 4, 5 and 6 4 साल का हो जाएगा. ठीक है, so salary payable as on 31st of December 2002 in million कितना है 1.1 million. So salary payable as on 31st of December 2006 in million ये कैसे होगा? This will be 1.1 into what? Into 1
1 point
3% raised to 4 है ना, this into 1 plus 3% raised to 4. This is the salary payable after how many years? After 4 years. And your benefit is going to be calculated on the basis of that. ठीक है, and what they are saying is ये तो आपका expected salary हो गया है ना. There is a 75% probability that all employees will still be employed by hand food company. Correct. And what is the amount of benefit? The amount of benefit is equal to 1% of their salary at 31st of December, provided they remain employed until that date. So employees expected to remain in service till 31st of December 2006. 75%. ठीक है, and so benefit payable to employees at the rate of 1%. कितना होगा? This into 75% into 1%. है ना? Now this is in million. यहां पर मैं लिख देता हूं in dollar million. इसको आई कैन कन्वर्ट, ओ सॉरी, इसको मैं सीधा डॉलर में कन्वर्ट कर सकता हूं। ठीक है, $9285.45. Now you have to calculate, but this, when is this amount payable? This amount is payable after 5 years, na? Benefit pay 5 years नहीं, after 4 years, after 4 years है, ठीक है। So present value of obligation, what is your discounting factor? Discounting factor is 5%. So this into 1 upon 1 plus 5% raised to 4. So present value of the obligation is 7639. Correct? अब इस पे आप, you will keep on unwinding the discount each year. Correct? Service cost and remeasurement benefit या जो भी होता है in case of these long-term pension plans, basically, the service cost should be recognized in P&L in the operating section. If there is unwinding of discount that happens, इस पे unwinding of discount भी होगा ना, year on year, that will go to P&L, but it will go under the financing section of P&L account, and this will go under the operating section. ठीक है, so the current service cost will be recorded in P&L under the operating section. The PV of obligation will also involve unwinding of discount at the rate of 5% each year, which we call finance charges, and these will be recorded in financing section of P&L. ठीक है? This is the accounting treatment that they had asked you and you have done it. 4 मार्क का सब पार्ट था, एक बार देख लो। आप पढ़ो, आई विल बी बैक इन अ मोमेंट। Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, discuss the impact on the additional employee benefit for the year ended 31st of December 2003 if Handfood Company were to take into account the following changes in assumptions: an increase in employees' salary above 3% per annum, and a decrease in a decrease in probability of employees leaving the company. ठीक है, look at it this way. ये आपने 3% से इंक्रीज किया सैलरी, what if instead of 3% you increase it by 5%? वही बोला है ना आपको, increase in employees salaries above 3% per annum and decrease in probability of employees leaving the company. Earlier you were like, you know what, uh, 75% of the employees will still be employed. That means 25% were expected to leave. Now let us say 15% are expected to leave and 85% will remain with the company. So instead of 75%, what if you say 85%? है ना? What is the benefit payable to employees in dollar million? Increase हो गया. So both will
Yes,
have
sir.
the impact of increasing the overall employee benefit payable. Correct? And it will increase the current service cost also. It will increase the unwinding amount also, right? So whatever, say for example, it increases by 5%, so naturally utna impact will flow in the P&L. Do you agree? Now, in
Yes, sir.
the case, when the question is, of this type, first of all, you explain what is going to happen. Best if you support it with hypothetical calculations. In the sense कि आपने ये तो calculate कर ही लिया है ना? So ये copy करो, ठीक है? And what? Let me show it to you. Part C2 कैसे होता है? Impact of increase in salary above 3% and decrease in probability of employees leaving the company. ठीक है? This is current situation. This is after incorporating above impact. क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? This will remain the same, but this could be, as we said, 5%. यहाँ पे लिखो salary increases by 5%. Employees expected to remain in service, say it is 85%. एंड देन यू एक्सप्लेन कि यार सर्विस कॉस्ट भी चेंज होगा, इंटरेस्ट भी चेंज होगा. यहाँ पे लिख दो probability of leaving is 15%. ठीक है? So then write about impact on current service cost. Then talk about impact on unwinding of discount. Right? हो गया. उसको डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन करो. योर जॉब इज डन. ठीक है? Again, not a very difficult question on employee benefits, but something like this you don't really expect. You expect, कि यार full-fledged calculation करना पड़ेगा या something on those lines. Whereas in reality, the expectation is quite different as compared to that. तो बस इस पे आपको थोड़ा सा additional effort डालना है. बाकी not a very tough question, so to say. ठीक है? Let's do one more question, which basically has again the same combination of employee benefits भी है और उसमें sustainability भी है. ठीक है? The question is, I hope you have the exam kit, all of you. There's a question called Ecoma. ठीक है? Can you take 3 to 4 minutes and read the question carefully? Ecoma वाला question है exam kit का. Read it carefully. It's a question which has sustainability reporting and then it has defined benefit pension scheme. ठीक है, तो 25 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन है. प्लीज स्टार्ट रीडिंग.
So where did you send the exam bit?
और मेरे मतलब मेरे वर्जन में क्वेश्चन 53 है. आप कंट्रोल F दबाओ ना, आपको मिल जाएगा. ई कोमा करके क्वेश्चन है. ठीक है, टेक 3 to 4 minutes एंड रीड इट केयरफुली. It's 9:27. You take time till 9:31. ठीक है, चलो. There is a global trend towards more expensive and more meaningful narrative reporting. Improvements in the quality and scope of this reporting are driven by regulatory standards as well as market demands for transparency. Many investors now adhere to sustainable investing, an approach to investment where environmental, social, or governance factors, in combination with financial considerations, guide the selection and management of investment. Discuss why the disclosure of sustainable information has become an important and influential consideration for investors. The background is that the directors of Ecoma consider ESG issues to be extremely important in a wide range of areas. This is second part. Okay, ये part A था. Discuss why the disclosure of sustainable information has become an important and influential consideration for investors. Full-fledged theory question है. देर इज नो स्कोप फॉर, मतलब यहाँ पे ना कोई कैलकुलेशन है, प्लस यू डोंट इवन नीड टू रेफर टू फैक्ट्स ऑफ द केस फॉर राइटिंग दिस पार्ट. ठीक है, सो लेट्स जस्ट राइट डाउन द इम्पोर्टेंस. व्हाट दे हैव आस्क्ड अस इज कि बताओ why is the disclosure of sustainable information important and influential consideration for investors? ठीक है. Now, investors are, they have developed a deeper interest in ESG. See, because the position of ESG in the overall, corporate strategy basically is necessary for investors to make investment decisions because it will ensure that the money that they have invested is being channeled for responsible business activities. ठीक है. Increasing trend amongst investors or on on ESG related issues, reporting and disclosures. ठीक है. Why? Because ESG is not just a tick in the box for compliance purpose, but it helps investors understand how they it helps investors understand whether their money is being channeled into responsible businesses. ठीक है. Now, might not be equally relevant for all companies. Because investors' expectations will focus on companies, first of all, realizing their core business activities. And then, of course, sustainability comes as an additional, it comes as an add-on for them, basically. See, in institutional investors or retail investors, जो भी है, they have to make sure that first of all the objective of wealth maximization, profit maximization takes precedence. But if they are investing in companies which are following sustainability practices, then it creates newer opportunities, investors realize that environmental events can create costs or losses for them in terms of the portfolio. Whereas, if you are compliant with some of these ESG requirements or you are adhering to sustainable business practices, then it reduces the overall business risk. Non-compliance with that, or going against certain social issues or not giving importance to the environmental factors, will create negative PR for the company, will create unrest for the company, and it will reduce future cash flows and financial returns. तो वो हो सकता है. ठीक है. So sustainability related disclosures are key to investors' decision to invest in the to invest in any business. ठीक है. While the primary focus of all businesses is maximization of shareholder wealth and profit. Uh, the businesses need to adhere to several sustainable business practices if they want to uh, attract the right kind of investment and enjoy continued public support. ठीक है. Now, companies which follow sustainable business practices are likely to invite better investments, right? And not following these sustainable business practices, उसका क्या impact होगा वो भी लिखो. Companies following sustainable business practices are more likely to attract better quality investments and non-adherence to sustainable practices is likely to lead to negative PR, might create social unrest, or lead to lack of investor confidence in the business. पूछा क्या है? Never lose track of what is asked. Why is the disclosure of sustainable information become important? Hence, it is critical for businesses to make full disclosure relating to sustainability practices and what else? Full disclosure relating to sustainability practices and adherence to ESG guidelines. ठीक है, ये लिख दिया. उसके बाद also talk about अभी investors क्या देखेंगे? Investors will look at the business model of the company and they will evaluate whether it is a sustainable business model or not. They will also look at what is the company doing right now in terms of these responsibilities, and is it also helping them to optimize financial returns. So mention about that. Investors will need an understanding of what the directors have to say of sustainability with respect to overall corporate strategy, है ना? So investors, before committing capital to any company will check the business and will check business model of the company in question. ठीक है? And special focus is likely to be placed on whether the business is sustainable in the light of current scenario. ठीक है? Now, investors will also check the contribution of the company in terms of several ESG related parameters like reduction of pollution or contribution to education, social factors में, and these are examples. You can write something else also. And good corporate governance practices. ठीक है? Now, investments are likely to be channelized to companies that fulfill the above and make adequate disclosures related to these. ठीक है? What we are saying is, say, for example, think about Infosys. Infosys as a company has that Infosys Foundation, which is working a lot in terms of, improving the improving the living standards and providing education to children of prostitutes and all of these people who don't have an equal opportunity to get educated. So the company is working tirelessly for these people. It helps to create positive PR, plus it increases the confidence that public in general has with the company. And just doing that is not enough. See, in today's day and age, whatever you do, you need a proof of that on social media, no? Unless you put a proof of that on social media, I don't think the activity is complete for you. So in a similar way, doing these disclosures in the financial statements, it will help you to understand better कि यार stakeholders को this information has to go कि see, we are working for education, we are working for environmental protection, we are working for soil conservation. जब ये information जाएगा तो good quality investment will come to you. Loans might not be given at such a high rate. So if you are a company, which is taking a loan, for example, for say solar panels for electricity generation, maybe आपको उसका लोन कम रेट पे मिलेगा if you are making adequate disclosures in the financial statements. ठीक है? If you want, you can expand the answer a little more. That's completely fine. But basically इतना तो आपको लिखना है. ठीक है? एक बार go through it. ठीक है, चलो, let's look at the second part of the question. The directors of Ecoma consider ESG issues to be extremely important in a wide range of areas, including new product development, reputation building, and overall corporate strategy. The company is taking a proactive approach to managing sustainability and is actively seeking opportunities to invest in sustainable projects and embed them in their business practices. The company's financial year end is 30th September 2005. Ecoma is committed to a plan to move its head office to a building which has an energy efficient green roof that acts as a natural temperature controller. My. The move from the current head office, which is leased, will take place at the company's year end of 30th September. The new green roof building requires less maintenance than a conventional building and produces oxygen, which offsets Ecoma's CO2 emission. The directors of Ecoma believe that the green roof building will save the company 2 million per annum over the useful life of the building. However, over the next 2 years, it anticipates that the disruption of the move will cause the company to make a loss of 10 million per annum. The company wishes to make a provision of 16 million, which comprises the loss to be incurred over the next 2 years, net of saving created by the green roof. ठीक है. The directors believe that the green roof building will save 2 million per annum. Over the next 2 years, it anticipates that the disruption of the move will cause the company to make a loss of 10 million per annum. The company wishes to make a provision of 16 million per annum, which comprises loss to be incurred over the next 2 years, net of the saving created by the green roof. Okay. Meanwhile, the company will have to vacate its currently leased head office building at 30th September 2005, the lease has 2 years to run with rentals payable in advance on 1st of October each year. The pre-tax discount rate is 5%. Defined benefit pension scheme के बारे में कुछ लिखा है. In accordance with IFRS standards, discuss how the 16 million provision associated with Ecoma's move to a new head office and vacation of its old head office should be accounted for. 6 marks के लिए है. This might appear like a question on sustainability, but is not. It's up. If you observe it properly, it appears to me like a question on IAS 37, है ना? Provision का बात हो रहा है. लिखा है sustainability, but you are actually talking about provisions, right? See, a
Yes.
provision can be recognized when there is a present obligation as a result of past obligating event. It is probable that there will be outflow of economic benefits and the amount of obligation can be reliably measured. All four conditions have to be satisfied. ठीक है. Now, first of all, tell me the head office. Okay, the head office is not your owned asset, it is a leased asset, right? So, with respect to that particular head office, the you are the lessee, so you will have to recognize a lease liability and a right of use asset. When you are vacating the lease or when you are vacating that property, right of use asset will provide no further economic benefit. It will have to be removed or it will have to be impaired. Now, the carrying amount of right of use asset must be compared with its recoverable amount. Recoverable amount क्या है आपका? Recoverable amount है fair value less cost to sell and value in use. Now, the if the lease cannot be sold or sublet, मतलब यू हैव एन ऑप्शन. आपके कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में लिखा होगा कि यार यू हैव टू कंटिन्यू द लीज फॉर 5 years बट यू कैन सबलेट द प्रेमाइसेस. व्हाट इज सबलेटिंग? वी हैव डिस्कस्ड दैट बाय द वे. IFRS 16 में हमने सब लीज डिस्कस किया है. आई हैव
Yes.
टेकन अ लीज फ्रॉम करण एंड वो प्रॉपर्टी हैव लीज्ड आउट टू मानव. सो आई एम द इंटरमीडिएट लेसर. इफ यू रिमेंबर, वो एक डायग्राम भी बनाया था ना. आई एम
Yes, sir.
intermediate lesser, or Karan is the original entity who owns that particular property. Now, if I can sublease the asset to Manav, sublease that particular property, it will have a recoverable amount. अगर लिखा है कि sublease भी नहीं हो सकता, कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता, then the recoverable amount will be reduced to nil. इनको क्या करना है यहाँ पे? इनको करना है over the next 2 years, it anticipates that the disruption of the move will cause the company to make a loss of 10 million per annum. The company wishes to make a provision of 16 million, which comprises the loss to be incurred over the next 2 years, net of the saving created by the green roof. the company will have to vacate its currently leased head office building. Now, tell me, company anticipates that certain losses will be made in the future. Are these like future operating losses for you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
These are future operating losses. Now, tell me, in case of Ecoma, this 16 million का जो loss है, total amount, it is like a, first of all, it is a future loss. That loss has not yet occurred. And is the company under an obligation to replace the roof? No.
No.
It is doing it. But is it under an obligation to replace the roof? Nahi. So do you think a provision should be created for 16 million in the first place?
No, sir.
No,
No.
sir.
No,
No, sir.
there is no need to create a provision. Write down the criteria for IAS 37, वो roof के बारे में लिखो, and then mention that A, it is a future loss, plus it is under no obligation to replace the roof, so no need to create a provision. Roof वाला part हो गया, ठीक है? Let's talk about the head office building. हेड ऑफिस बिल्डिंग में एक आपका राइट ऑफ यूज असेट भी है, एक आपका लीज लाइबिलिटी भी है ना? कंपनी विल वेकेट इट. What is the question? The question is, discuss how the loss of 16 million should be accounted for in association with move to the new office and vacation of its old head office. उसको क्या करेंगे? There are two parts in the question, huh? Separated by this word and. What are the two parts of the question? Please observe. One part is, in accordance with relevant IFRS standards, discuss the vacation of how its old head office should be accounted for. ये एक हो गया. And second part हो गया, discuss how the 16 million provision associated with Ecoma's move to the new head office should be accounted for. ठीक है, दो चीजों को आपको अलग अलग से डिस्कस करना है. तो एक रूफ वाला पार्ट आएगा, एक वेकेशन ऑफ हेड ऑफिस वाला पार्ट आएगा. ठीक है. सो पार्ट बी 1. ठीक है. रूफ. राइट डाउन द essential requirements to recognize a provision. State how the loss is a future loss, not yet occurred. Also mention how the 16 million, also mention how the entity is under no obligation to replace the roof. ठीक है. So no requirement to create a provision. ठीक है. सेकेंड पार्ट इतना ही, आपको उसको जस्ट एक्सपैंड करना है. ठीक है. आई हैव मेंशन द पॉइंट्स. एंड वेकेशन ऑफ हेड ऑफिस. ठीक है. हेड ऑफिस का क्या करना है? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, हेड ऑफिस इज अ right of use asset, not an owned asset. ठीक है. Now, if the premises are getting vacated, check the lease agreement and find out or ascertain, whatever you want to use, and ascertain whether there is a sublease clause present in the lease agreement. ठीक है. If there is a sublease clause, then the asset can be sublet till the end of lease term. ठीक है. Now, if you are vacating the premises right now, there will be no future economic benefit, so impairment review should be performed. When premises are being vacated, there will be no future economic benefits. So perform an impairment रिव्यू। ठीक है, इसके बाद लिखो कि when an impairment review is performed, or rather write how to perform an impairment review and explain what is recoverable amount। ठीक है, फिर उसमें फेयर वैल्यू लेस कॉस्ट टू सेल, वैल्यू इन यूज दोनों डिस्क्राइब करो। इफ sublease is possible, calculate, if sublease is possible, there will be a recoverable amount, as in value in use। If sublease is not allowed, तो क्या, सी सबलीज होगा मतलब ऑल्दो आई एम वेकेटिंग द प्रेमाइसेस, आई एम लीजिंग द प्रॉपर्टी आउट टू मानव, मानव से मुझे लीज रेंटल मिलेगा, दैट विल बी माय फ्यूचर इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट। सो आई विल कंपेयर द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ द लीज रेंटल आई एम रिसीविंग फ्रॉम मानव, आई विल कंपेयर इट विद द कैरिंग अमाउंट ऑफ राइट ऑफ यूज असेट एंड आई विल इम्पेयर दैट। इफ सबलीज इज नॉट पॉसिबल, दैट मीन्स आई कैनॉट लेट आउट द प्रॉपर्टी टू एनीवन एल्स, तो मुझे और रेंटल नहीं मिलेगा। दैट मीन्स recoverable amount will be zero and full impairment होगा। Correct? Don't talk about lease liability because they have not asked you about lease liability. Otherwise, ideally तो वो भी बोलना चाहिए ना कि if also if you have the option to terminate a lease, if you are vacating the premises and you have the option to terminate the lease, then on the lease liability front आप क्या करेंगे? The lease liability will get de-recognized and you know all of that will happen. But वो पूछा ही नहीं है, तो वो करने का जरूरत भी नहीं है। ठीक है? Are you with me, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, advise Ecoma on the principles of accounting for the pension scheme, including calculations for the year to 30th September. Ecoma is worried about the poor remuneration package offered to employees is putting the company at risk of reputational damage. Consequently, Ecoma changed its pension scheme on 30th September 2005 to include all of its staff. The benefits accrue from the date of their employment but only vest after 2 years additional service from 30th September. The net pension obligation at 30th September 2005 of 78 million has been updated to include this change. During the year, benefits of 6 million were paid under the scheme and Ecoma contributed 10 million to the scheme. These payments had been recorded in the financial statements, but no other entries for the year have been made. The following information relates to the pension scheme. Net pension obligation 2004 2005, current service cost, past service cost, discount rate at 30th September 2004, discount rate at 30th September 2005। है ना? आप स्टार्ट कहां से करेंगे? यू विल स्टार्ट विथ नेट पेंशन ऑब्लिगेशन एट 30th September 2004।
Yes, sir.
नेट पेंशन ऑब्लिगेशन एज ऑन 30th September 2004 कितने का है? नेट पेंशन ऑब्लिगेशन 59 मिलियन का है। करेक्ट?
Yes.
उसमें डिस्काउंट रेट एट 30th September 2004 इज 5.5 मिलियन, तो उसमें आप नेट इंटरेस्ट ऐड करेंगे। $3.245। उसके आगे, इज देयर अ करंट सर्विस कॉस्ट
Yes, sir.
18 मिलियन ऐड। ओके, नाउ there is some change that has happened in the pension scheme, है ना? What is that change? The benefits accrue from the date of employment and the net pension of मतलब कुछ changes तो हुए हैं. They have contributed 10 million to the scheme. Contribution to the scheme should be subtracted less ठीक है. Now tell me कि what else is happening here?
Past service cost amendment.
Past service cost with respect to scheme amendment of 9 million. Add. Past service cost scheme amendment 9. ठीक है. अब
Yes,
इसके बाद what should be the carrying amount of net pension obligation? इसको प्लस माइनस करो, आपको वैल्यू मिलेगा 79.25. बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट मतलब फेयर वैल्यू कितना है नेट पेंशन ऑब्लिगेशन का? 78 million. फेयर वैल्यू ऑफ नेट pension obligation on 30th September 2005, 78. Where does the difference go? Difference is
Remeasurement.
remeasurement
component.
component to OCI. As per your calculation, the obligation is 79.25. Fair value of the obligation is 78. तो क्या होगा?
Negative.
तो difference है, that is like a आपका liability का value, fair value is less than the carrying amount. So you
Hmm.
can think of it like a gain. I wouldn't call it gain. You can think of it like a gain. But आपको पूछा क्या है? आपको पूछा है advice on the principles of accounting for pension scheme including calculations. अब ये जो एक एक calculation है ये आपको you have to explain it line by line. कि where will what amount will go where, that kind of an answer is expected here. कि the amount of the net interest component, it will go to P&L. Then you can then talk about the current and past service cost. You will have to explain why is there a past service cost. वो आपको लिखना पड़ेगा, वो आपको explain करना पड़ेगा. And that is what is expected. No, apart from that, nothing else. Whatever you have written here, na, you have to first of all state the accounting treatment. You remember when we do defined benefit obligation or plan, हम वो arrow बना के लिखते हैं. This goes to P&L, this goes to cash flow, this goes to OCI, this goes here and there. तो वही सब आपको अभी you have to explain or you have to write that in statements. That is the expectation. Will you be able to do that?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
And calculate the impact which the adjustments in B2 above will have on profit before tax of 25 million for the year ended 30th September 2005 in exclude potential tax implications. क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा? प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स, सॉरी, प्रॉफिट बिफोर टैक्स ऑफ 25 मिलियन है. ठीक है, 25 मिलियन इज प्रॉफिट बिफोर टैक्स. इसमें डोंट यू थिंक यू विल सब्ट्रैक्ट द नेट इंटरेस्ट पार्ट?
Yes, sir.
3.5 you will subtract, and current and past service cost also you will subtract.
Yes, sir.
So it is likely to turn it into a net loss situation, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you have to write about ये छोटा सा calculation है 2 मार्क के लिए, उतना लिखो और खत्म करो. Now, if you were doing triple A, if you remember double A में भी था ये materiality by nature, an adjustment which has the effect of turning a net profit position into a net loss position is also an item which is material by nature, if even if it is not material by amount. तो ये वो वाले adjustments हैं. Maybe your materiality level is 30 million, but these have the potential, or maybe it's 40 million, we don't know. But these two adjustments have the potential to turn a net profit into a net loss. ठीक है, इतना ही लिखना है. Now, if you observe carefully, the questions are around half of the marks allocated in that particular question. These are from topics, which we never give importance to. So what I'm trying to emphasize is ki make sure that you do these topics properly. मत छोड़ो, छोटे छोटे रिकॉर्डिंग्स है इसके, कोई बहुत बड़े रिकॉर्डिंग्स भी नहीं है। तो मेक श्योर दैट यू वॉच द रिकॉर्डिंग्स, मेक श्योर दैट यू लर्न इट। ठीक है, छोटा सा है, लर्न करके जाएंगे तो भी चलेगा। द क्वेश्चंस दैट वी आर डूइंग टुडे, वी डिड 2 questions on sustainability. We'll do 2 more questions on sustainability in the next week, not on the weekend. ठीक है, so make sure that you work on that tomorrow, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Day after tomorrow, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll be working on consolidation. 3 questions tomorrow, 3 questions on Sunday. So make sure that you attend and you do it on time. ठीक है, one moment before, so I'm ending the class, but I want to discuss one point with